What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about BCHG and LTCN. Yes, there's a little bit of music playing in the background. I will put it on pause whenever we're getting into the actual TA, but I just figured I would have it in the intros and the outros if I remember to do it. I've gotten a lot of feedback. You guys seem to, for the most part, like the music, but there are those of you who find it distracting, and for various reasons, and very understandable reasons. You know, maybe you just don't like it as well, and that's totally fair. But I think in the beginning and at the end, whenever the meat of the material has already been laid out without the music, I think that's fine. So I think a lot of you who said you don't like the music could also agree that that's fine as well. But it will not be on for the whole video. Okay, just saying that. But we are talking about BCHG and LTCN for Grandview stalls. There are a couple of you that requested to see some longer term stuff, and someone actually requested why I think Bitcoin Cash could see prices that are above $1,000. And I want to be clear first before I say Bitcoin Cash. I'm sorry, BCHG could see that. I don't expect that to happen. I accept it as a possibility, and I will go over the reasons why, but I don't necessarily expect that that's going to happen. In fact, I think in most of my videos where I've said that, maybe there's been one or two where I was just feeling extra bullish that day, but in most videos I think I've said it could happen, but I'm not really expecting it to. I think I've said those exact things, but we'll go over that. I'm going to put the music on pause. We're going to get into it right now. So looking at BCHG here, first and foremost, we can let's do the long-term stuff and then work our way down into the short-term stuff. So that's not it. From all-time high to all-time low, if it'll work, I don't know why. Okay, there we go. Your minimum expected target would be $250, and then potentially all the way up to $1,500. Okay. Now, to kind of make sense as to why these are expected numbers, with fibs, with the Fibonacci retracement tool, in my experience and from what I've learned, the expected range, if there was to be an expected range, is between the 1272 and the 1618. Now, expected does not mean that it has to happen, right? This is just like the more immediate area that you look for whenever you're looking for new all-time highs. It's anywhere and everywhere in between here. You could absolutely go higher. I very much doubt it. Again, I very much doubt that you even see this, but it is a possibility. It's something to be aware of. It is completely capable of seeing those prices. And how is the question? So if we look at this here from the current price, if I can get it, come on now. That's not it. That's not the current price. I want to be exact because we're dealing with big numbers here. That's right on, I think. Is it? Is it right on? It's not right on. That's on the opening price. Come on. Closing price. Dude, what is going on? Come on. There we go. All right. I love technology, man. Without technology, I don't know what I'd be doing with myself, actually. But probably going to bed on time, waking up with the sun, you know, stuff that's good for you. But from here, the minimum expected target would be at the current price is a 24x. Okay, so that's pretty nice, especially after the given pump we just had. A 24x ain't bad. The next target would be about a 54x, 55x, and then potentially running all the way up to a 154x in itself. So that's impressive gains. That could be had by the end of this cycle, right? The expectation for crypto, at least in my opinion right now, is that we will see the end of the cycle happen sometime in later 2025. I think it will be later 2025, as in the second half, as in after June. Okay, these are known to top off before the underlying asset tops off, at least based off of the one cycle we've had before. Here, you topped off in December of 2020. Bitcoin Cash itself topped off in May of 2021. All right, so you topped off sometime, but you hung around these areas nonetheless. This could have been, maybe you topped off so early because this was relative to your release dates. There were a lot of unlocks that happened. You know, the initial investors had their allocations unlocked and they were able to sell. Maybe they didn't sell here, or maybe they did and they bought more and they were in even more insane profits, and so that gave them reasons to sell. Who knows? But I kind of do expect where Bitcoin Cash before, and we can check, right, BCH right here, Bitcoin Cash topped off previously in May of 2021, so we know that that's accurate, right, over here. that means that our actual high for BCHG happened about 20 weeks before that. Okay, so about 20 weeks before that. I'm theorizing that this cycle, the high for these Grayscale trusts will probably be closer to the all-time high of the underlying asset. I don't think it's going to be as far away. I don't think it's going to be 20 weeks away. LTCN saw like similar things actually. I think it will be closer, though I do expect that it won't. That it will be earlier. Still, it will be earlier, probably by a degree of multiple months, probably. That you're going to see that premium balance out. For those of you that don't know what the premium is, the amount of coins, the amount of Bitcoin Cash is, because this is a Bitcoin Cash trust, and this works for all their Grayscale trusts. And I'm only going over this because it's come to my attention that some people just don't know what a premium is, and that's fine, whatever. None of us knew what it was until we learned what it was. Like you don't know, so I mean nobody's going to tell you unless you ask or unless someone tells you. So here we are. The trust owns Bitcoin Cash, and relative to the amount of shares that they put out versus the amount of Bitcoin Cashes they have, there's a price that's appropriate for like what the cost is essentially, and that is the NAV price, the native asset value or something like that. I think that's what it stands for, or natural asset value. I don't know. But so right now, that price, if we look at Grayscale actually, let's see. That price is $3.33, okay? But BCHG is at $10.08. So there's a premium on that price. If you took $10.08 minus $3.33, that's your premium. Okay, and if you wanted to make it a multiple, you could as well. I mean, I guess you could divide 10 by 3.3. That would give you your multiple, but however you want to look at it, it's at a premium. And the only reason I'm going over that is because I was saying I would expect the premiums between the Grayscale trusts and the underlying assets to get tighter and potentially even shift into a discount by the time the actual underlying asset sees its all-time highs. That's my theory. But going back to the idea as to why we could see, got a little sidetracked, why we could see this, I want to talk about BCH, where BCH was last cycle and where BCHG was. Man, I don't know. This might be a little bit hard because I don't know what the premiums were in the previous cycle. Damn, that's not going to be. That's going to be a little bit of a guessing game, I suppose here. But let's look at BCH. Okay, let's look at BCH and assume that BCH can go to the prices that I'm thinking it's going to go to. Okay, I think BCH, if we take its all-time high to its all-time low fib extension, I think that we're at a minimum going to go to 13K. I'm personally expecting we do see 23K, at least 20K, something like that, with the potential to go to 53.2K. I have listed various reasons as to why that could happen. I don't think it will, but I'm not counting it out. I wouldn't bet somebody that 53K is not going to happen this cycle. I would bet somebody, I actually have bet somebody that it will break 13K actually this cycle. Just a gentleman's bet, man, nothing big. But we bet on all kinds of things, man. But let's see. That would be a 34x at a minimum with a potential growth overall of 140x. Okay, so 140x if it were to see a 53K market cap, a 60x, 62x, 63x almost actually, if it were to see the in between. So something at 140, 63x. My whole point of why I'm doing this in the first place is if we take this low, the relative low we had for the cycle, to our relative high, we've grown 500%, 509%. We look at BCHG in comparison, okay, relative low for the cycle to where its relative high is, it's at 3,600%. Okay, 3,600 versus 500 in overall growth. If we go back to BCH and we look at the potential growth from here being at, even if it doesn't see 53,000 and we see that, and I don't expect it to, but we see this happening here, do you think a 6,100% growth, right, because that'd be a 62x, almost a 63x, it'd be a 62.8x. Do you think that would merit a 62.8x in BCHG or a larger growth in BCHG? Again, 500% for BCH from cycle low to cycle high was the same for BCHG, was 3,600%. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be that same multiplicative difference here, but a 60, what was it, 60 something X, whatever, I would think that BCHG would at least see greater than that, right? So let's just see here. Hold on. I want to go back to BCH. I hope it's making sense. Oh, man, did I put it on pause? Did I pause the music? Okay, good. I would have felt bad for anybody out there who was trying to not get distracted. A 62X. Let's call it a 62X, okay? That way I'm not getting too distracted on the numbers here. A 62X in BCHG, so we've already established why I think it would go higher than that, okay? If BCH sees a 62X, I would think this would see over that. So that's already, you guys, at $615. And I have a point that I've left out that I will go back. It has something to do with what I started with, but I'll go back to that. At that rate already, we would be above the 1414. Okay, so the next likely target, in my opinion, would be the 1618. It's all the way up there. But here's the thing: you don't have to go up to here just because you broke above this. You might wick above this, but not actually break above the 1414. In which case, you could stop out somewhere in between the orange line and the pink line here. But also, another thing is that this is where, and this is the part that I left out that I'm going to include now, is that this is where I expect BCH to be at the end of the cycle, okay? At the end of the cycle. Months before then, at least 2 months, if not 4 months, BCHG will probably have found its high at that point, okay? So if this is where it is months after BCHG finds its high, where's the price going to be? Well, will it be here? Will it be at a 34X from here? Will it be lower than that? You know, it's hard to know. Okay, it's really hard to know. But let's say we were at half this price. Okay, so that's a 62X. Let's go down to a 31X essentially, right? 31X right here. Let's just say we're at half that price, and we pull a 100% growth through the end of the cycle, which I feel like sounds fine. It might be too conservative, it might be too optimistic, but I think that sounds about fine. So let's take half of that. So maybe you only do a 32X from here. Still, going back to BCHG, after what we've seen on these multiplicative differences here, as far as like the overall growth goes, if BCH sees a 31X, I would expect that BCHG could see a 60X from here in the same amount of time, right? Before it finds its all-time high, because BCHG will likely find its all-time high first, tying in again what I was saying in the beginning. I hope it's all connecting, right? So I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, man, but what I'm trying to say is prices above 527 to me seem very possible, very, very possible. Even likely. I don't know if I would bet that we would go above here. I feel confident that we are at least going to see 250, but if we go above this 1414, I can't help but think we would see the 1618. And we really could. I don't know how far the premiums are going to get with BCHG. I don't know what it's going to look like. You know, we did have the private placement sales, and to be fair, out of all of them, BCHG was the least appealing as far as like a premium goes. So it'll probably be the least affected by it. If BCH underperforms, if it doesn't see the kind of growth I expect, maybe BCHG does only grow to here. But still, guys, a 24, 25X to a potential 50X from the current prices after literally last month, or this whole month, we're up 152%, still more or less having a very strong chance of these kind of gains in probably within the next year. Like that's phenomenal. So I do think BCHG, getting into the more immediate term stuff, I hope that answers some questions, and I'm not going to do the same thing for LTC and LTCN because that I will go over my long-term projections for that, but this would be a lot, like a tremendous growth from here, right? That would definitely be a tremendous growth from here. But that was the question specifically for BCHG from, I forget who it was. Actually, I might have it here. Let me see. Give a little shout out if I can. I believe this was for Hannah or Hanan Levi. I don't know. Hanan Levi or Hannah and Levi. That kind of explanation as to why I could see prices going up here, that was mainly for you. But and for anybody else who might be curious whenever I talk about these prices, yes, it's crazy. I wouldn't bet on it happening, but I wouldn't bet on it not happening. If someone's like, yo, I'll bet you like I'll bet you $1,500 that this does happen. I wouldn't be like, okay, I'll take that bet that it doesn't happen, because it really could. It really could happen. But I'm just talking in circles now. So let's get back to the main thing, which is the short-term analysis. Okay, that's the potential for BCHG. Very real, very, very real. I've done technical analysis for 7 years, you guys. I don't know if anybody knows what they're talking about, but I promise you I'm not just pulling things out of my ass whenever I say numbers like these. They are backed in personal experience with trading and investing and stuff like that, and just kind of overall like my personal opinions as well for growth, because I really do think BCH is gonna shock people this cycle. So I think BCHG has a magnitude higher of shocking to do. People ask all the time, why don't you buy BCHG then? It comes to a shock to some of you that I don't own any BCHG, even though I believe that it will see impressive growths like that. And that's because personally, I would rather own the underlying asset. I feel more comfortable as an investor to buy the underlying asset, which is Bitcoin Cash. So that's what I do. I buy Bitcoin Cash instead of BCHG. This is a trust. It's handled by people. There are things that can happen, like private sales, or who knows what could happen with Grayscale. Those who knows add a bit of risk, and that bit of risk adds the potential reward, right? Buying the underlying asset, the risk is mitigated because it's all in code. It can't be changed by people's opinions or decisions. They have to hard fork it if they really want to change it, So it's not just some VC's decision or CEO's decision of a company to do different things with the trust. Who knows? It, like one bad call and this thing could go to hell. Or it could go up a lot. Like who really knows, But that's why I buy the underlying asset over the trust, because I take more solace, I take more comfort in that. Even though I very much do believe the trust will see tremendously more growth than the underlying assets do. I want to be clear as to that. But if that makes sense, for me it's just a way to be more risk averse. Not that these are really risky in my opinion. I think Grayscale does a good job. I know they've got some shade from their old, I don't know if it was a CEO or whatever. Maybe he's still their current CEO. I know that there's been some negative things surrounding that guy, but I don't know, man. I think Grayscale has done phenomenal things for crypto, but some people would disagree strongly with that, and we're all entitled to our own opinions. But man, I'm getting off on a whole different topic here. I hope you guys are liking it. If you do, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content. I really do appreciate it. Let's get into the more immediate analysis here. So top to bottom, you went up to your 2618. Pulling back to your 2272 at about $8 would not be crazy. You could pull all the way back down to your 886, 1886, or your 1618, all the way down at 457 to 576. Yes, those numbers are possible. Are we going to see that? That's a really good question. You're overbought right now. You haven't closed this week red. If you close the week red, which technically it looks green, but you are down about 3%. If you close this week red, that could be the initiative that it would take to move down at least to $8, if not potentially 576 or lower. If we take more relative fibs from the most relative range we had, this high to low here, pulling back to your 1618 based off of where you are would kind of be my expectation. At least the 1886, but I think at least $8, if not 742, if not maybe all the way down to 607 based off of this. If we take this kind of higher low trajectory there, I know it's not the straightest line, but more or less, depending on how long it takes, I mean, we could go lower than $6. It's totally possible. And it would be fine if we did. We'd still be fine. But I do think BCH is topping off. I think we've found our next high. We had a higher high. We're going to consolidate for a little while. Just like we did here, it's going to be a consolidation phase. I think I actually, in my last video, if not the video before, I said we moved up and then we consolidated. And then we moved up and then we consolidated. And then we moved up and then we consolidated, and now we've moved up and we're going to consolidate probably for a couple months, and we are at the beginning of it. We are at the high point. So yes, I do think we're going to drop a bit, right? If we take from the high point to the low point here, we saw as much as a 40% drop. We take the high point to the low point here, we saw a 57% drop. And the most recent one we saw top to bottom over 3 weeks, we dropped about 44%. Here we are right now from top to the current price. We're only down 17% only. We've probably got more to go. Don't be scared. 41% would put us right at these previous areas of resistance, finding support there. Finding support, that's at like $7. That is a relatively significant fib extension if I remember correctly. That might be the 1618 or the 1272 of this move. Let's see. It's like really close to that top to bottom here. That's like the 1414. So, you know, somewhere in that area wouldn't be crazy at all. Maybe we don't see a 40% correction. Maybe it's only 37. Maybe it's greater. Who knows? But I do think over the months, and maybe the first 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks is where we see that low come in. I don't think we're going to be moving down that whole time, but we're going to be consolidating for months now. We've seen the excitement. If you want to buy, go ahead and do it. It never hurts to DCA. I feel bad, you know, I definitely mentioned DCAing in here, but I wasn't as strong a proponent. I was more a stronger proponent of waiting for lower prices, but we've learned our lesson, haven't we? It's always good to DCA. You're down 17% from your relative high. It's not a bad idea to DCA. And I know I said that at various points, even down here. I did say I think it's going to go lower, but we dropped like already 30%, so it's probably not a bad time to DCA. But I'm going to be more open about that, more vocal about that, I should say, more vocal about that, because I don't want people to expect that we are going to go back down to like $3 or even $4, and then it just never comes. We're down 17% from the relative high. We have a lot more to go. It's a perfectly fine time to DCA, but I would not throw the whole bag into this. And I personally do expect the prices will come down over the next 2 weeks to 2 months or more, potentially, right? If we look at this for what it's worth, also from your relative high to your low point, that took 4 weeks. From this relative high to your low point, that took 5 weeks. And then this one, I think, took 3 weeks. 3 weeks, yeah. So 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. We're already on our first week after the high. So probably sometime in April, early April, we will find our low. And then after that, it's not going to move up immediately. It's going to be, you know, we did not move up immediately. We started to, like, slowly, but we didn't see our, like, breakout move till here, right? Because the breakout move is once we break this previous high. That happened here. And it was like 1 week, 2, 3, 4 weeks of growth, and that was it. We saw breakout move technically this week, but I would say this week actually. We only moved up in 2 weeks essentially. You could count it as 3 weeks, but it does move up very fast and it consolidates for a very long time. So elevator up takes the stairs down essentially. So buy the dip territory is all I'm trying to say. I think that we are going to go lower. I think it will take time. I think that we will find our low within the next 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks at the most. I would say 4 weeks from here at the most. And then we will probably continue to consolidate for an equal amount of time after that. Not going lower, moving higher, and slowly building higher lows and higher highs and stuff like that, but not breaking this high until probably it's March, at least like I would think late May, mid-May, late May, or sometime in June, probably. That's my thoughts. And that can all change. That can all be wrong if BCH decides to start doing trade. If BCH does well, if it does like a 10% pump day, okay, BCHG might not, it might react positive to some degree. But if BCH sees a positive breakout like it did here, like that, it's going to be very hard for BCHG to do anything other than extraordinary growth in a short amount of time. So, yeah, anyways, that's BCHG, that's BCH. It's not going to be as dramatically long for LTCN, okay, because I feel like we went over some principal things with regards into or as to why I think BCHG will grow a lot. That was the specific question. A lot of you seem to have an easier time wrapping your head around the idea that Litecoin could move to 2,000 or 4,300 than Bitcoin Cash or BCHG moving up to 1,500. And it is at like double the price, to be fair, but let's just see. You know, like it's closer for it to grow to that range, but I mean the minimum extension would be a 80x, and then here that's a greater percentage chance. That's a greater percentage gain than BCHG does. It might do that, it might not. You know, at this point in time, I am curious to see how much higher we will go than 2,000. I do expect LTCN to. I personally do expect it'll break $1,000. Here we are at 24.81 right now. But I also very much expect it to break $2,000. Now, I think Litecoin itself will go to 2,500 by the end of this cycle. I do. So, and LTCN, last cycle, it topped off right here at $510. Litecoin itself topped off at $420, just below $420. So this thing was actually up in value more than Litecoin was. If I expect Litecoin to go up to 2,500, I would then translate that to an expectation that this probably goes above 2,500. And I shouldn't say that I expect Litecoin to go to 2,500. I expect it to break 1K. But it could break 2,500. It could go even higher. There are price targets for 4,000 or higher. But if it breaks 1K, LTCN might be right here, and I would just be very surprised if you didn't see that 1272. So I very much would expect this. We'll get into the short-term stuff in a second. Again, if you haven't hit that like button already, you guys, hit that like button. Very much appreciated. But I do think a 2,000 to a 4,000 plus Litecoin, LTCN, is on the cards. Okay, we have a very, very nice structure before us here. Double bottom right here, accumulation phase, forming into a very beautiful looking parabola, right? These are very powerful moves, man, and who knows how long it continues for. But that's a very powerful movement, man. You're about to hit price territories where you will see extraordinary growth in a short amount of time. It's already been extraordinary, but this right here, right? Like look at where you are. You're at your kind of like last turbulence zone. Previous areas of resistance and support, you're finding it here, okay? After here, like where's your next stop? Like right here? All the way up here where you had a little bit of resistance here and resistance there. Maybe all the way here where you had a closing bit of support, or somewhere in between where that little low was. Okay. So from the current prices, your next stop would be a 200% growth, potentially a 350% growth. Like you're going to see crazy growth in a very short amount of time, and it'll probably only get more volatile. You'll see bigger swings up and bigger swings down as you go up. That's how parabolas work, man. It's a very, very cool thing. Yes, there's a little bit less volume here in the spikes, but you didn't technically top off with high volume. It was this big candle that you had high volume. And this is back-to-back volume. Both of these weeks together is bigger than this volume here, where its preceding candles and superseding candles were not even close to what you've got now. So, yeah, like this month is looking pretty good. That's still that is your biggest month in volume, but I think the volume's looking good is all I'm saying. I'm not concerned. Yes, it is a lower high technically, but I'm not concerned as far as that goes. I think it looks fine. But weekly RSI, you do have bearish divergence presenting itself. It's not printed, it's not confirmed on there until you have a red week, which again this week is green, but it's down. You can see up here in the percentages, it's down 1.96%. There's a gap down. So just like there's a gap up here, this one has a gap down. If this week closes red, that divergence will be printed, and I would think that you'd kind of be required to move back down to 1575. Now, this is a key area in my opinion because it's previous areas of resistance, it's where your divergence formed, and it's also previous areas of support down here. You could go below this line. That's okay. You can go below this line. It's fine. It's not anything to be too worried about. I would just say you probably don't want to go below like $12. Essentially, like 1176 is like the lowest that I would want to see this thing go. So you're probably going LTCN. You're probably going anywhere from I think 1683 to 1176, probably with a heavier emphasis on that 1683 to $15 area. But let's look at where you're going relative to all these moves here. So low to high, you went to your 0.5 just below your 382. Low to high here, you move down to your 382. Move down just below your 0.5 again. So yeah, you could go from low to high. If this is your high, you could go, I would say, at least 1683, 1467, and you really could go all the way down to like 1280, but you didn't hit your 618 on either of those, so I'm not expecting that. That's just more the reason I was talking about this area to begin with, is that's more, in my opinion, what would like line up with like a break potentially of this parabolic structure. So you don't want to see that happen, but let's see. The daily looks good, looks very strong. You are at a point where you could roll over though. That is a bearish kind of topping candle. Let's look at the 3 hour. 3 hour looking a little bit like it wants to roll over, yeah. You do have kind of a flat top here. There's good things and not good things about the 3 hour, honestly. And the 1 hour. It's not making it easy. I'm kind of actually, with the way this looks, I'm kind of assuming you want to go higher. Let's look at LTC real quick. Let's look at that. Yeah. You're probably going down LTCN, probably. LTCN can move up while LTC moves down. It can happen, but for what I'm assuming, you're at a topping point already. I think that with LTC going down, you're going to have a harder time. Close above 2650. If you close above 2650, you're going to 3140, but that would be it. That would be the high, the next high you have before pulling back to find lower or higher lows would be my thoughts. I guess you could go higher, but I don't know if I really expect that. So let's see how this week closes. If you get another green week, okay, more growth, probably more growth. If you close it red or even technically green but with a negative percentage, then likely we will see you down at 1880, 1710, potentially lower than that, down at this area of support, down at this area of resistance. That's where I would think you're going. So that's all I got to say. If you guys like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more. I very much do appreciate you. I forgot the outro music that we got going on here. Oh, I thought I was playing it, but I guess I wasn't playing it. I thought I played it in the beginning, but it didn't actually play. Oh, that's funny, because I see that it's at 0-0 right now. I tried playing it, man, but it just, for some reason, I guess it didn't play. You guys are probably like, there's no music. What are you talking about? Anyways, we'll get that figured out for another time. If you guys like the video, hit that like button. I very much do appreciate you all for coming. Let me know in the comments if you disagree, if you do agree, what it is that you're thinking these trusts can achieve, what your potential all-time high targets are by the end of the cycle. I want to know, just kind of get an idea where your guys' heads are at with this too. Do you think these private placements are going to mess with this more than I'm expecting it to? Do you think they're not a big deal? Do you think I'm too bearish on these coins or on these stocks and they're going to go a lot higher, these trusts? I don't know what to call them, man, whatever. They're stock coin trusts, whatever. Crypto coin trusts. Am I wrong about the immediate term? Is it going to just go up from here? Am I too bearish on it? I don't know. But let me know. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.